Today is November 14, 2022. My name is Rob Carr of Kalamazoo Right to Life, and this is Pro-Life Week. Well, just a few things on today's program. First, they both deal with the election. Some post-election analysis again. But there are 435 members of Congress. And to get a majority, you need 218. Well, right now, the Republicans have won 211 seats, and the Democrats have won 204. So you do the math, there's about 20 House races that still, 6 days after the election, still have not been called. You know, this is the USA, this is 2022. We live in a modern, technologically advanced society. And still, we are struggling in some of these jurisdictions. We are struggling on figuring out how to count ballots, how to count people's votes to determine who wins elections. Uncalled for. On election night, the state of Florida is the third most populous state in the country. And less than 5 hours after the polls closed, Florida was able to announce who won the race for governor, for Senate, for their state congressional races, for their state house and state senate, and all the other races up and down the ballot. They were able to call those races. So how come Florida, with all those people, can count their people and give us outcomes? And states like Arizona, that only 2 days ago could they announce who won their Senate race, and they still haven't called who's won for governor. Now, how come some of these states are struggling so much? You know, California has several House races that have still not been called. So what's wrong with some of these places? We need to have a better system in place so that voters will know when they go to bed. Even if they go to bed at 2 a.m, they should be able to know who is going to be their representative, who is going to be their senator, who will be their next governor, or who will be their next president. They should know that election eve, the election night, or early the following morning. They shouldn't have to wait 5 or 6 or 7 days to figure out who wins. Especially in this House where, you know, the control of the House is up for grabs, and we shouldn't have to wait a week to figure out who's going to control the House, whether it's going to be Nancy Pelosi or Kevin McCarthy. So it's a flaw in the system in some of these states. Now in the Senate, it's a little different. You know, the Republicans failed. I mean, you can't get around the fact that they had all these high hopes, great expectations that with a bad economy, rising crime, gas prices, food prices, the southern border, abortion, critical race theory, parents with school boards, trans issues, there's the girls' sports. There's a lot of things going on that I felt had angered the public and perhaps had given the voter a reason to vote Republican, at least in the Senate and the House, to see what the Republicans could do to fix some of these problems, because the Democrats, and especially Joe Biden, have just failed the public to deal with some of these issues. They just failed to address key issues. But no, the Republicans were not able in the Senate, were not able to close the deal. And in some states, I do feel that they had candidates that perhaps were not the best choices. But the voters picked them in primaries, so you know it is what it is, as my good buddy from Virginia has said. It is what it is. So we have to deal with a Senate that is 50 Democrats, and if Warnock wins in this runoff election next month, they will have 51 to the Republicans' 49. Now, with the Democrats retaining control of the Senate, they also retain control of all of the committee chairmanships And when Biden nominates judicial nominees, I'm not talking about the Supreme Court. I'm talking about district or appellate courts, where he has greater opportunities to fill vacancies. The Democrats are in control. So if they vote by party line vote, they will control and give Biden his judicial picks. Now, regarding the filibuster, the situation is a little bit different, because let's suppose, for the sake of argument, that Herschel Walker, the Republican, loses his Senate runoff race in Georgia, and Warnock wins his reelection. So the Democrats will have 51 senators, and the Republicans would have 49. Okay. But the Democrats have 2 senators who have already announced that they oppose getting rid of the filibuster. West Virginia Senator Joe Manchin and Arizona Senator Kyrsten Sinema. So if there is a vote whether to scrap the filibuster and get rid of it, if Sinema and Manchin vote with the 49 Republicans, then they will win with 51 votes. Because the Democrats, who would have had 51, they'll lose those 2, of Sinema and Manchin, so their 51 falls to 49. So in a vote in the Senate on the filibuster, I do think the Democrats will lose 51 no to 49 yes. Now, there's always the possibility that Sinema and Manchin might be under so much pressure to flip. And if they do, if they flip, then especially if one flips and it's 50-50, then Kamala Harris jumps in again, and she's the tiebreaker to give the 51 to abolish the filibuster. So continue to pray for Senators Manchin and Sinema that they hold the line and vote with the Republicans not to abolish the filibuster. Because if we lose the filibuster, there is so much bad news that can come out of the Congress, out of the Senate. There's a lot of mischief the Democrats can do if we lose the filibuster. So be praying for those 2 Democrats to hold the line when this issue comes up in January. Now, regarding the election from last week, that we all kind of know now that the Democrats ran on 2 issues. They couldn't run on the economy because it's a mess. They couldn't run on gas prices or energy or home heating oil or any of that stuff, crime. They couldn't run the southern border. They couldn't run on any of that. They had to run on abortion, because after the Dobbs decision, there was so much, there was an upheaval, enraged Democrats over that decision, that they were going to make that a key issue to energize young voters and women voters to vote, even against their own self-interest on their own pocketbook issues, to vote for the issue of abortion above all else. But they also voted because they were scared. They were in fear. And, the Democrats have, for years, accused the Republicans of being the party of extremism. We're the party of hate. We're we hate blacks, we hate gays, we hate, minorities. We just hate a lot of people. And because we hate so much, we should be defeated. Well, in this past election from last week, the Democrats preached a message of hate. There's no getting around it, because their message was, if you don't vote for me, the Democrats, if you don't vote for me, you'll lose your democracy. We will cease to be a democratic country if the Republicans take control of the House and the Senate. You'll lose everything if you don't vote for us. And I think a lot of Americans became fearful that this was going to come true, that if the Republicans got control of Congress, House and Senate, that we Americans would lose our democracy, we would lose our freedom. That was a message of fear. That was a message of hate. Not the Republicans weren't preaching that, the Democrats were. And regarding abortion, I was born and raised a Democrat. I didn't leave the Democratic Party. The Democratic Party left me because of the issue of abortion. They flipped so much on abortion that I could not stomach being a part of that political organization any longer. And I got out. And the Republican Party, for better or for worse, is the party of life. So, I mean, they have their flaws. They have a lot of flaws. But the Democratic Party is the party that stands for killing babies. They support killing babies. You just can't get around it. Obviously they would deny that. But the unborn child in the womb is a human being. And if you kill it, you've killed a baby. So that's just a fact of life. So I don't want to really end this on a down note. But I suppose the good thing is, the good factor is that the Republicans have a better shot on taking the House. There are 211 Republican races already called. So of these 20 undeclared races, they only need to win seven of the 20 races. So the odds are in their favor that they can win those 7 and get to 218. And I don't want them to get to 218 because that's a razor thin victory. And all you need is just 1 or 2 Republicans to vote with the Democrats, and you've lost. Now there is one Democrat in the House, Henry Cuellar of Texas, who defeated his opponent, the Republican, and in his district is close to the Rio Grande, the southern border in Texas. So he retained his seat, and I know the Democrats tried desperately to mount a primary challenger who was pro-abortion to get rid of him, because they can't stand him, because he is the lone pro-life Democrat. So on abortion-related cases, we do have one Democrat who will vote with Republicans. So that's a good thing. So maybe I should end with that positive note. One Democrat is left, pro-life Democrat is left in the U.S. Congress who will stand with pro-life Republicans. With that, I'll let you go, and we'll see you next time.